Well, maybe the slightly more serious part of this is that, questioning authority is the easy part of the intellectual exercise of living. What's a great deal harder, it seems to me, is questioning yourself. In a country like this, it's not true everywhere, but in a country like this, it's much safer to challenge the thinking of the president than it is to challenge your own thinking. Because, there is a lot more at stake when you're wrong than the president's wrong, at least for you personally. If you challenge your own views, you might have to admit that something you have thought for a very long time is not true, it's wrong. And this is not a culture that celebrates being wrong. It is certainly not a culture that celebrates admitting you're wrong, which is kind of a shame, because there's something kind of noble about being wrong. There's something especially noble about and courageous about admitting it. And it seems to me that in the last few years we have seen what happens when a country, or maybe the leadership of a country, becomes a victim of its own self-assurance, and how dangerous that turns out to be. It's odd because we have seen in the world how dangerous it is when self-assurance runs amok. We've seen what kind of ironclad self-confidence does it take to crash an airplane into a building full of people you've never met? How must the bubble of self-assurance be so airtight that it doesn't even admit a whiff of the horror that you're about to commit? That's scary when we see it in other people. So, it pays maybe to be vigilant about this yourself. Now you might say, all right, Professor, thank you. Perhaps you could give us some advice and tips about how you in your own life are always constantly looking for areas in which you're wrong and how to admit it. I would do that if I felt it were necessary. Okay, this thing I'm telling you to do, I'm not good at it, all right? I'm extremely bad at it. There are people in this very room, people on this platform, who could tell you how hard it is for me to admit that I'm wrong. I would advise those people not to tell you that if they want a graduation present. So, maybe that's the story. There are many things in life that are much harder to do as you get older. Many things in life. And admitting you're wrong is one of them. So really, my excuse is this is about you. I want you to think about wrong. It's too late for me. Now, if I were a graduating senior, I would say, why is he lecturing me on self-assurance? I have a job in Chicago that I'm going through weeks I don't know anything about. I'm not self-assured. I'm a cathedral of insecurity. Okay? I'm a basket case, worried about my future. Well, okay, good for you. You're in a position where you know what you don't know, or at least you know that you don't know something important. How much better would the world be if more people were in that frame of mind? So maybe you should cherish that. Don't think of it as fear. Think of it as open-mindedness, flexibility. You could use that phrase. People say, "How's your new job going?" I'm feeling pretty flexible. So, if you can keep that, if you can question not only authority but your own self, I think maybe your life might be harder, but the world might be a very better place. And I think, really, since self-doubt, it's a very scary place to live. But in the long run, it may be a lot safer. The final thing I want to say is that I'm luckier than most parents in this room, my wife and I are, because kids go off to college, and they just don't come back. Not really in the same way. We're very lucky that Mary gave us 4 more years here than we could normally expect. And those 4 years were the most happy years for me professionally that I've ever had and probably ever will have. And I want to thank my daughter Mary for giving it to me. Thank you.